Ark is just your average lonely gamer who has zero social life and would spend all day locked in his mom's basement grinding XP. But one day, things take an unexpected turn when he randomly spawns into the world of the game he used to play. This world is filled with all kinds of magical beings, creatures, and ridiculous spells, so Ark thinks it would be best to lay low for a while and not draw too much attention to himself. But that's definitely not happening because he spawned in as a giant knight with a big-ass skeleton head. That was the last skin he picked before ending up here, so I guess he's stuck with it. Fortunately, the universe decided to cut him some slack and spawned him in with some S-rank skills and weapons, so naturally, he tests them out by turning some innocent trees into chopped cheese. After getting a feel for his overpowered kit, he heads to the nearest village, where he instantly gets distracted by all the delicious meat he sees on display. He's way too broke to afford anything, so he decides the best way to make money fast is to become a mercenary. On the way to the guild, he accidentally overhears a conversation between a man and a hooded woman. When the woman scoffs and turns to walk away, the man mutters a curse about the elves, which immediately draws Ark's attention to the woman's ears. Ark can't help but express his excitement at discovering that elves exist in this fantasy world. After that, he walks into the guild and immediately becomes the center of attention. Everyone is staring at him, assuming he's some legendary knight from a royal army, but if only they knew the truth. Ark meets the receptionist and asks to register as a mercenary. The receptionist thinks he's joking, because why on earth would someone who looks like a high-ranking imperial knight settle for the lowly job of a mercenary? Ark deepens his voice and tries to sound as serious and professional as possible, explaining that he has been forced to take on mercenary work due to a personal issue. The receptionist instantly jumps to his own conclusion, imagining Ark as a tragic former knight who got kicked out of the army and is now struggling to pay his sick child's medical bills. He agrees to let Ark become a mercenary, but tells him there's a requirement first. He must complete a preliminary task, take down some monsters, beasts, and bandits, and bring them back as proof that he's capable of the job. Ark is thrilled because this finally gives him the excuse to fight actual monsters. He leaves the guild and immediately heads into the forest, where he quickly and easily defeats a handful of monsters. It's so easy that it barely counts as a warm-up. Then an ugly orc jumps out of nowhere and tries to attack, but Ark uses his wyvern slash to take it down in record time. With the orc added to his growing collection of proof, he now has monsters and a beast. All he needs now are bandits, and the universe seems to still be on his side, because he soon spots some bandits attacking a group of trash-tier mercenaries. After the bandits wipe them out, the leader notices a young lady and her maid cowering against a tree. Judging by the disgusting expression on his face, Ark already knows exactly what he's planning to do. Ark hesitates for a moment. This would be the first time he kills actual humans instead of monsters, but the situation with the girls is getting worse by the second. Right before the leader can lay a hand on her, Ark appears behind him and uses a single slash to turn the leader and his lackeys into chopped liver. The lady looks up at him in awe, because she literally just witnessed her knight in shining armor appear out of nowhere. The remaining bandits see their boss get shredded and immediately try to make a run for it, but Ark uses wyvern slash again and wipes them all out with one clean strike. After his hero moment, Ark walks up to the two girls and asks if they're okay. The maid responds that they're fine. She introduces the blonde girl as Lauren, while she herself is Rita, Lauren's maid. Ark tells them not to worry about anything and casually tells them to put on some clothes before he turns around to walk away. This gives him the perfect opportunity to loot the bandits' belongings. He heads over to their bags and gathers plenty of money enough to cover what he needs. The girls walk back over to him in their fresh clothes and thank him again for saving them. Ark tells them it's no problem, though in reality he's more excited about the delicious meat he's going to stuff his face with when he returns to town. As a sign of gratitude, the girls offer him a ride back to the town on their horses. They begin their journey back, but Ark quickly notices that Lauren has been staring at him non-stop the whole trip. It makes him shy, and the giant skeleton knight actually starts blushing. Once they reach town, Ark heads back to the guild with all the proof of the monsters and bandits he defeated. The receptionist is shocked, since he never expected Ark to succeed, let alone return on the same day. But rules are rules, so he gives Ark his official mercenary license, meaning he can now take on quests. After finishing up, Ark heads to the local inn where the meal of his dreams is waiting for him. He begins stuffing his face with chicken and washing it down with alcohol, and it tastes even even better because of the long wait. As he eats, he reflects on everything. Even though he still has no idea how he ended up here, he's grateful for this unexpected second chance in a new world. Next morning, Ark's first official quest as a newly licensed mercenary turns out to be something far less exciting than he imagined, guarding someone while they collect herbs in the forest. When he shows up at the guild to select a quest, the receptionist practically winces at the idea of giving a mission this basic to someone who looks like a legendary knight who could probably solo a dragon before breakfast. He even tries to politely hint that maybe Ark should choose something more appropriate for his abilities. But Ark, trying to play it cool, tells him that he has always had a personal interest in herbs, and besides, it might actually be pretty fun. The receptionist doesn't buy a single word of that excuse, but since Ark insists, he hands the quest over anyway. Meanwhile, in a small nearby village, two young sisters, Marka and Helena, are quietly eating breakfast while their mother is away. It's a peaceful morning, or at least it was peaceful until a sudden, heavy knock echoes through the house. Marka, thinking it's their mother returning early, runs to the door and swings it open. She freezes instantly. Standing outside, towering over her is Ark in full armor. Marka almost drops dead from shock on the spot. Ark calmly tells her that he's here for the herb collector protection job. Marka lets him inside, and once her brain catches up, she explains that she was the one who put up the request. Her mom had no idea. A few minutes later, Marka suggests they leave immediately so they can finish the quest before her mother returns home. Ark doesn't see a problem with that. He's basically overpowered enough to walk through even the most dangerous forests, so the two of them head out. As they travel deeper into the woods, Ark gets curious about why she seemed so desperate to start right away. When he asks, Marka explains that her father used to gather herbs for their family, but he passed away recently. Her mother has been heartbroken ever since. Marka hoped that if she gathered herbs just like her father used to do, it might make her mom smile again, and she wanted to get it done before her mom came back because she knew her mother would never allow her to enter a dangerous forest alone. Ark almost tears up behind his helmet hearing this tiny girl talk with so much determination and sincerity. He silently swears to himself that he'll protect her with everything he's got and make sure she sees her plan through. Back in the village, Marka's mother, Siona, finally returns home. When she realizes Marka isn't at home, panic hits her immediately. Some villagers quickly approach her and explain that they saw Marka heading into the forest earlier. Siona nearly collapses from fear, especially because the forest has been rumored to be crawling with dangerous monsters lately. The villagers try to calm her down by adding that Marka wasn't alone. She was accompanied by a cool-looking knight, so they assume things will be fine. Siona doesn't know whether to feel relieved or more terrified. Meanwhile, in the forest, Marka is happily filling her basket with herbs while Ark stands guard. Suddenly, Ark senses something coming from a nearby bush. He tells Marka to step back and cautiously opens the bush only to find a small, adorable nine-tailed fox with an attitude problem. The little creature seems irritated because its leg is injured. Ark uses healing magic on it, and the fox instantly loves him. After being set on the ground, it refuses to leave. Marka suggests keeping it as a pet. Ark thinks for a moment and decides he wouldn't mind a companion. He names the fox Panta, earning a cheerful yelp from it, with their new fluffy friend bouncing beside them. They continue their journey until they spot a kabami tree growing on lower ground. Marka gets extremely excited and runs toward it, but at that exact moment, Ark senses something dangerous approaching. His instincts, or maybe his gamer senses, kick in immediately. A big-ass lizard-like monster suddenly appears behind Marka. The monster's presence fills the area with a suffocating, sinister aura. Panta becomes enraged, confirming Ark's suspicion that this must be the monster that injured him earlier. The gigantic creature raises its claw and is moments away from crushing Marka like a bug, but Ark launches forward and pulls her out of harm's way at the last possible second. Ark recognizes the monster instantly. It's a great basilisk, one of the most dangerous creatures from the game, known for its insane strength, terrifying presence, and multiple special abilities. Ark knows most of its attack patterns, so he dodges with precision while keeping Marka behind him. He figures that as long as he stays focused and cautious, he'll eventually find an opening. The basilisk soon charges up a devastating curse attack known for turning every living thing in a massive radius into stone. Ark already saw that one coming and activates his divine shield, blocking the curse entirely. With the monster now wide open, Ark realizes the only way to defeat it efficiently is by using holy magic. He unleashes his judgment spell, which traps the basilisk in place while lightning descends from above and annihilates it in a single, blinding strike. Once the smoke clears, the basilisk lies dead. Ark honestly didn't expect to take it down so easily. As he approaches the corpse, he notices a strange red ring wrapped around its foot, but before he can inspect it properly, the ring vanishes into thin air. Despite the weirdness, Ark feels proud. This is the second major monster he's defeated entirely on his own. Marka is completely amazed. She tells Ark that everyone in the village will feel the same way and probably throw a celebration for him, but Ark waves that off instantly. He doesn't want any unnecessary attention. He asks Marka to keep what happened between them. As far as anyone knows, the basilisk just disappeared. Since fanged boars have been attacking the village lately, Ark assumes the basilisk must have scared them away from their usual hunting grounds. And now that the basilisk is dead, the problem should go away soon. Ironically, the moment he thinks that, they run into a fanged boar nearby. Ark simply picks it up and decides to take it back to the village as a gift. He plans on taking one of its fangs as proof for the guild, but he tells the villagers the meat should be shared fairly among everyone. The villagers celebrate the moment they hear this. Out of nowhere, Siona spots Marka and sprints toward her with tears in her eyes. She hugs her so tightly and is honestly just glad to see she's safe. Siona is on the verge of scolding her for going into the forest alone, but Ark intervenes. He tells Siona not to blame Marka because he should have asked her permission first. He takes full responsibility. Siona calms down and tells him that she's just relieved they're safe. Ark stays in the village until sunset. Marka, sad that he's leaving, makes a leaf crown with her tiny hands and gives it to him as a goodbye present. Ark accepts it and promises her that he'll return one day to visit. Marka beams with happiness at that. Later that night, Ark returns to his hotel room and shares dinner with Ponta. As he stuffs his face, he reflects on the day's events from protecting a small girl to fighting a great basilisk before deciding that tomorrow he's ready to take on something even more challenging. Ark quickly got used to the daily life of taking out bandits to meet his needs. But even after wiping out an entire squad today, the other bandits refused to learn from their mistakes and still continued to be bandits. After taking care of yet another squad, Ark found out that the bandits had a lot of treasure. Ark assumed they most likely stole it anyway, so he might as well keep it for himself. But then he noticed something strange. A pair of cages lay open on the floor, with plates having food crumbs in front of them. Ark didn't sense any immediate danger, so he ignored it and headed back to town to have lunch. Meanwhile, in the Dinto Kingdom, the lord of the land, Triton, was extremely pissed off at his assistant, Celsica. After learning that their attempt to assassinate Lauren had failed, it turned out that Lauren was the princess of the Luveard Kingdom, and they believed taking her out would be the only way to gain political power over other kingdoms. Celsica added that although the bandits they had hired managed to take out Lauren's guards, a mysterious mercenary showed up at the last second and wiped them all out to save Lauren. Triton got even more furious when he learned that the basilisks they had sent over to the Luveard Kingdom were slain before they could even deal any damage. Triton was so angry he couldn't even stand to look at Celsica, so he simply told him to get out. Night had fallen, so Ark returned from the cave after a long day of hunting bandits. He heads back to the town with Ponta to get dinner and go to bed. But that's when a hot elf girl charged at him with murderous intent. She swung her sword at him, but Ark managed to dodge and block her attacks, even though she was faster than anyone he had ever fought before. He got a better look at her face and recalled that she was the same elf girl he had seen when he first arrived in this world. The elf mistook Ark for a bandit, which was why she was attacking him. Ark tried his best to explain that he wasn't one of them, but she didn't buy it. She continued to attack, only stopping when she saw Ponta on Ark's shoulder. Apparently, Ponta was a rare spirit creature called a cottontail fox, so after she saw how friendly he was to Ark, she realized he must be telling the truth and stopped attacking. Ark asked what she was doing here, and she explained that she had heard about a bunch of greedy bandits who were kidnapping elf girls and selling them for money. Ark realized that was what the cages were for. The elf walked past him and began heading toward the cave, but Ark stopped her and told her not to waste her time since there were no elves left inside. She felt frustrated that she was too late, so she ran off to try and find them. Ark called her back one more time and offered to help her find the elves, but she told him she was a lone wolf and didn't do partners, then ran off. Ark acknowledged that she said she didn't need his help, but he decided he was going to help her anyway, because there was no way he was going to miss out on helping a hot elf waifu like that. No gamer would ever pass up that opportunity. He headed back to the hotel to stuff his face with food. But this time, the food didn't hit like it usually did because he couldn't get that hot elf girl out of his head. He didn't even know her name. The following day, Ark was so set on finding her that he used his dimensional ability to travel straight to the elven forest. When he and Ponta landed, he heard the screams of some young elf girls and headed in that direction. He hid in the bushes and saw a large group of bandits who had captured several elf girls and thrown them into a truck. These were the elf hunters the hot elf had warned him about the previous night. Their leader was a douchebag named Eudalon, and the crazy part was that his dad was Triton, the lord of the Dinto kingdom. Ark recalled that the hot elf girl had told him to stay out of elf business, but after seeing how Eudalon and the other bandits were treating the girls, he made up his mind that he couldn't just turn a blind eye. He was just about to spring into action when someone else emerged from the bushes before he could. It was the elf girl from last night, and Ark did a little victory dance as he realized he had found her. The elf took down two of the bandits like they were nothing and told Eudalon to put an end to this. But the other bandits didn't seem fazed at all. Instead, they seemed excited because they recognized her as a dark elf and figured she'd have a higher sale price. The first wave of bandits approached her, but she swallowed them in record time, making the leftover bandits start to question their life choices. After she defeated about 90% of the bandits, Eudalon used his last resort and threatened to kill the kids in the truck if she took another step. The dark elf wasn't willing to gamble with the lives of the children, so she stopped attacking. This gave one of the bandits the confidence to walk up to her and take advantage of her. The elf thought things were already over for her, but that's when Ark appeared right behind Eudalon and hit him with a right hook, sending him flying. There was no more direct threat to the kids, so the dark elf took down the rest of the bandits with ease. With them out of the way, the elf tried to release the kids from the cage, but had no idea where the key was. Ark didn't need a key, so he smashed the padlock and the kids were free, although they seemed a little scared of him. The dark elf was impressed, but didn't admit it. Afterward, she noticed that the elves had a curse choker around their necks, which explained why they couldn't move or defend themselves. She had no idea how to remove it and started to panic, but Ark casually cast a curse dispelling spell, freeing the little girl from the curse, and even used some of his healing magic to fix a small injury on her leg. At this point, the dark elf couldn't hide her shock that a mere human could possess such abilities. He was clearly not an ordinary knight. The dark elf finally decided to introduce herself, telling Ark her name was Arian, an elf warrior. Arian called a whispering fowl over to deliver a message back to her people. Ark was confused about what kind of bird that was, so she explained that it was a special spirit creature that the elves used to communicate with each other. Shortly after, the whispering fowl returned with a message for Arian, telling her to come back home immediately because her attention was needed to help rescue the other elves who had been taken captive. Arian asked to hire Ark for this mission since he had already proven himself in combat ability. Ark got the feeling that the other elves might be skeptical of his loyalty to them since he wasn't an elf like them, but Arian reassured him not to worry. She told him that she trusted him, and because of that, she would definitely be able to convince the others to trust him as well. That said, Ark agreed to go on the mission with Arian. Their destination was Dinto, so he teleported her to the little river, which was within walking distance of Dinto. Arian was shocked to see that Ark managed to use teleportation magic without even needing an incantation, which was quite impressive. They made their way into Dinto and waited in an alley. Arian mentioned that they were going to meet her friend, Danka, an elf warrior just like her. Ark got excited at the news because if Arian was a hot elf warrior, he couldn't wait to see how attractive Danka was going to be. But Ark shuddered in shock when he found out that Danka was an ugly guy wearing a hood. After introducing themselves, they headed over to a nearby diner to discuss the reason for their presence there. Arian told Ark that he could order whatever he liked, but Ark refused, claiming he was fine. In reality, he didn't want them to find out about his big-ass skeleton head. He wasn't sure how they would react if they saw it. Ark engaged in some light small talk with Arian, who explained the history of their village and how she and Danka knew each other. But Danka couldn't take any more of it and told Arian to cut the crap and explain who this meathead sitting beside him actually was. Arian explained that Ark was a mercenary, but not an ordinary one. He could cast several high-level spells, and even had a cottontail fox as a companion. Danka was surprised to hear this and admitted that such abilities could definitely come in handy. Arian then asked Danka if he had managed to locate the elf hunter's base of operations. Danka confirmed that the elves were being held in a building near near the entertainment district. They decided to carry out the rescue mission at night since the area would be less busy then, meaning they would hang around the diner until nightfall since they didn't have anything to do at the moment. Ark told them he had some errands to run and said he would be back in an hour. After Ark left, Danka expressed disappointment to Arian that she relied on an outsider like Ark. Arian explained that during the battle she faced before coming here, she would likely have been killed if it weren't for him, so she had taken a liking to Ark. Danka accepted that explanation and decided to trust Ark based on her word. Meanwhile, Ark returned from the local guild with a pouch full of money after receiving his rewards for defeating the bandits. He then attended to more pressing matters. Since he couldn't eat while Arian and Danka were present, he had been binging ever since. So he and Ponta had a little picnic to enjoy the delicacies of the town of Dinto. Meanwhile, in the entertainment district, the elf hunters were still holding the elf girls hostage. One of the elves insulted them, claiming a hero would find them soon and that they would all be dead. At first, the bandits laughed at this, and one even licked her face as punishment for daring to speak. That night, the trio met up to infiltrate the building. The front gate was heavily guarded, so Ark used his short-range teleportation magic to get up to the roof. Arian spotted a nearby window that seemed empty, so she figured they could sneak in through there. She tried to get through, but her huge chest made it difficult to squeeze inside. When it was time for the others to enter, Ark simply teleported in. Arian got pissed, saying they could have told her that was an option from the start. They head downstairs and found the bedrooms of some of the bandits. Two bandits were lying on the bed with their throats slit. The blood hadn't dried yet, so Ark figured it hadn't been long. Someone else must have infiltrated the building and was trying to save the elves. Danka suggested they split up to continue the rest of the search. Ark went on his own and used his dimension skill to glide around the building. He reached a suspicious door, but it was locked. He looked through the keyhole to visualize the interior and then teleported inside. Once inside, he saw more bandits whose throats had been slit. Ark wonders who could be behind all of this. Just then, two kunai flew out of nowhere, but Ark blocked them. A ninja dashed forward and began attacking him, but after seeing that Ark had no hostile intent and noticing he had a spirit creature with him, she realized he wasn't a bandit and stopped attacking. Ark got a good look at her and became excited because this was the first time he was meeting a cute, furry-tailed ninja. He assumed she was there to save the elves as well, but she said she wasn't. She hadn't been able to find what she was looking for. However, she gave Ark a scroll, saying that the imprisoned elves they were looking for were being held underground. After relaying the information, she left quickly. Ark was somewhat upset that she had left so fast that he didn't even get her name. He examined the scroll and saw that it was the purchasing contract for the elves. He met up with Arian and Danka, who read over the contract and were surprised to learn that the Lord of Dinto also had a hand in this. Ark informed them that the elves were being held in the basement, while some were still being held at the Lord's palace. Arian asked how Ark had obtained this information. Ark figured revealing that he had met the furry-tailed ninja would complicate things, so he simply told them that he captured one of the bandits and questioned them. After that, they headed to the basement and saw the elf girls imprisoned in their cages. Arian introduced herself, and the elves were delighted to see someone of their kind had come to save them. She gave Ark a signal, and he used his brute strength to bend the bars of the cages so the girls could go free. The girls were frightened at the sight of Ark's freakish strength, but Arian calmed them down by telling them that he was a friend. The girls ran to Arian and hugged her, thanking her for saving their lives. Ark then created a gate and teleported them to the point in the valley where they had arrived. He noticed one of the girls had the same curse binders as the ones they had rescued earlier, so he used his curse dispelling magic to remove it. Danka was surprised to see that a simple mercenary could break curses so easily. Arian suggested they get a move on to the Lord's palace to save the other girls. Danka said he would get the girls to safety, meaning Ark and Arian should be able to handle the situation at the king's palace. Arian touched Ark's arm, and they teleported together into the Lord's palace. But in the distance, the ninja from earlier and her companion were seen watching them. Ark uses his dimension skill to fly all the way up to the roof. They both intend on sneaking inside and finding the elves, but right as they arrive, they run into some guards. The guards acknowledge them as intruders and try to capture them, so Ark uses his wyvern slash to cause a distraction, giving them the chance to run away. Those guards quickly meet up with the others and inform them about the situation, so now there's an ongoing manhunt for the intruders. Meanwhile, in the inner rooms, Triton appears to have two young girls chained up and is just about to pounce on them. The girls cower in fear, but Triton doesn't care because that's actually what turns him on. Udalan is there as well, witnessing the entire thing, but is wrapped in bandages and in severe pain due to his previous encounter with Ark and Arian the other day. Triton is getting ready to dive in when, all of a sudden, the royal informant bursts into the room, trying to give Triton a heads up about the intruders, but before he can even finish, Ark and Arian burst into the room. The elves are relieved to see that someone came to save them. Triton approaches them and tries to attack, but Arian just kicks him in the nuts, which knocks him out. Udalan looks at them and recognizes them as the same ones who soloed his entire squad, so he tries to make a run for it, but Ark stops him before he can get away. Meanwhile, Arian is busy literally kicking Triton in the butt repeatedly, and Ark wonders if she's taking it a little too far. Orion says he deserves it because he was the one who broke the treaty first. She then lets the girls beat Triton up as they like, and Ark and Ponta are terrified at the sight. Suddenly, a wave of guards shows up. Ark tells Arian that there's some stuff he needs to attend to in the hidden room, so she should hold off the guards. Arian agrees and uses her flame sword to wipe the guards out. Afterwards, she tells the girls to get out of here and go meet up with Dunka. Meanwhile, Ark is busy looting Triton's gold bars into his sack. He imagines how many luxury dinners he would be able to buy with this amount of gold. Then, all of a sudden, Arian walks in on him looting and asks what he's doing. Ark doesn't want to get caught, so he lies, telling her that it would be a good idea to seize all their money so it won't be possible to run their elf hunting operation. Arian finds it to be a good idea, and Ark is just glad she bought it. Suddenly, the castle starts erupting with explosions, but the explosions aren't caused by them, so they figure it's about time they got out of there. Ark uses his gate to teleport them out along with all their gold. Ark realizes that if it wasn't Arian who set the fires, it could be the cute furry-eared ninja. Now that Arian and Ark are done with their mission, it's time for them to part ways, but she doesn't want to say goodbye to Ark just yet, so she invites him to visit the elf lands. Ark gets excited at the hearing of this because it would be a great chance for him to meet more elf waifus. He asks Arian whether the chief over there would be fine with welcoming a visitor. Arian says it'll be fine as long as he shows his face when he's being introduced. Hearing that makes Ark get serious all of a sudden. He tells Arian that he can't remove his armor under any circumstances. Arian tells him that showing his face is the only way he'll be properly welcome. At first, Arian thinks Ark is just really shy, which is why he doesn't want to show his face, so she swears not to judge if he shows her his face. Ark takes his helmet off and reveals his big-ass skeleton head, and Arian is taken by surprise. She asks what happened to him, and Ark doubts she'll understand if he tells her he just spawned in the world of his favorite video game, so he tells her he just woke up one day with these overpowered abilities. At first, Arian assumes he must be some sort of undead creature, but she doubts that would be the case since he's capable of using dispelling magic and even has a spirit creature attached to him. She assumes it must be as a result of a curse laid on him, so she asks him to travel with her to visit her village elder, who will definitely know something about it. Ark agrees, so they both shake hands, making it official. So with that, they begin their journey to the Elf Kingdom. Meanwhile, in the Rodin Kingdom, Karlum, the king, holds a meeting with his family because he heard that the kingdom of Dinto was attacked. He asks what's going on. The first prince, Sect, says he's not exactly sure of the cause, but there are rumors that it was caused by the elves. Karlum wonders why the elves would just attack so randomly out of nowhere, so Sect informs him that Triton violated the terms of the treaty and was selling off the elves. However, the second prince, Dakers, isn't buying it. Sect assumes Dakers is sticking up for their violation of the treaty, but Dakers just tells him that they shouldn't tarnish the image of another kingdom just off some baseless rumors. King Karlum agrees, telling them to get the full gist before making such statements. The princess, Melissa, admits that if these rumors are true, it would be really bad because the violation of the treaty would only stir up tension and cause controversy among the nation. She suggests they find out the truth as soon as possible. Karlum agrees and tells her to head to the Elf Kingdom as soon as possible to arrange a meeting with them. So with that said, this meeting of theirs is over and they leave. Melissa's feelings are neutral. Sect feels good that things went in his favor, and Dakers is clearly pissed off. Meanwhile, Ark and Arian are on their way to the Elf Kingdom, but it's still going to take 3 more days of traveling, so they decide to set up camp for the night. Ark catches a fish and they use it for dinner, but Arian's belly starts to growl, so Ark heads into the forest to see if he can hunt a boar. While he's gone, Arian gets taken away by how cute Ponta is. She tries to resist but just can't. By the time Ark returns, she is sniffing and nibbling Panta, while Ark just stares and watches in awe. The next day, they continue their journey and arrive at this huge gate, which is the entrance of the elf kingdom, Lalatoya. Meanwhile, Princess Melissa is having tea in her castle, but she has something bothering her, so she decides to open up to her maid. She suspects that Dakars was somehow involved in the elf trade, and Sect won't stay quiet about it for long. In the forest, the gates of Lalatoya open up, and Ark gets really excited because it's every gamer's dream to step into an elf fantasy land. Arian asks Ark to wait outside while she requests permission for him to enter. Arian ends up taking way longer than expected, so Ark has no choice but to stay there and do a lot of random stuff to pass the time. By sunset, Arian finally returns, apologizes for the delay, and invites him in since she has received permission. Ark steps inside and looks around, taking in the very beautiful surroundings. Arian then takes Ark to meet the village chief and his wife, Dylan and Glenys, who also happen to be Arian's mom and dad. Dylan was informed that Ark helped their people, so he invites him inside for some coffee. Ark tells Dylan the full story of how they saved the elf girls who were kidnapped, and Dylan expresses his gratitude. Dylan then suggests they have dinner, so Glenys presents the food for them to eat. Ark feels a little shy at first about taking his helmet off, but Arian tells him not to be shy because he has already explained everything to her parents. With that said, Ark takes off his helmet and eats. The next morning, Ark wakes up to find Glenys already preparing breakfast. He asks where Arian is, and Glenys informs him that she and her father are on their way to Maples for a political meeting. Arian and her father meet up with the other elves who are traveling to Maples and use the teleportation pad to arrive there. They go to meet the board to report the kidnapping situation. This meeting is led by the chief elder, Brian. After everyone hears the story, they are honestly considering starting a war because the 4,000-year-old treaty was broken without warning. Brian suggests holding a meeting to discuss what happened with the humans. However, Great Elder Fangus does not support that idea at all. He feels they have no obligation to explain their intentions to humans. Brian admits that the humans breaking the 400-year contract is totally unforgivable, but jumping straight into confrontation would almost definitely spark another war. Therefore, Brian advises that they continue with their plans to free the elves who are still captured by the humans without engaging in direct conflict. With that being the final verdict, the meeting is dismissed. Meanwhile, Glenys offers to show Ark around the town, and as you would expect, the knight in giant armor draws attention. A human in their territory makes everyone nervous. Suddenly, two of the girls Ark saved from Udalan and his goons run up to him and express their gratitude for saving them. Glenys notices how happy the girls are to see him, so she assumes he is really strong and asks to spar with him. They head into an open field to spar, but Ark low-key feels bad about attacking someone older than he is. Glenys tells him not to worry because she was the one who trained Arian, so she is very capable of handling herself in battle. If Ark is going to be traveling with her daughter, she needs to make sure he is competent. They draw their swords, and Glenys takes Ark down in a single strike. Ark can't believe it. She's a lot stronger than he expected. Ark gets up and continues to spar with her, but every single time he is bested. One time, he tries using his dimension ability to teleport behind her and land a blow, but Glenys reads it instantly and counters. At this point, Ark realizes that there is only a certain amount of strength that the highest stats can get you. It is already getting late, so Glenys suggests they head back home to freshen up and for her to start preparing dinner. Upon arriving, Ark removes his armor and gets ready to take a shower. He takes a dip in the bath and can feel the warm water deep in his bones. He also bathes Panta, who seems to be enjoying it. Arian arrives back home shortly after, but she doesn't know Ark is in the bath, so she takes her clothes off and walks in naked. Ark takes a look at her raw physique and is left speechless. Arian immediately assumes there is an undead in the bath, but Ark just tells her it's him. After that, they all sit down to have dinner, and Arian is still a little embarrassed about Ark seeing her like that. Dylan draws their attention to inform them that they have decided to continue their mission to rescue the elves that have been abducted and would like to hire Ark to help complete the job. However, they admit they won't be able to offer much as a reward since Ark is clearly richer than they are. Dylan adds that where they are going may hold the secret to breaking his curse. He explains that there is a hot spring near the Lord Crown area that is rumored to be able to cure any disease or curse. Arian tells him not to feel shy about it because she would be joining him when he goes to the hot spring. This whole curse-breaking thing was just a story arc cooked up to prevent people from asking too many questions, but now it's becoming a real situation. Still, Ark agrees and offers the knowledge of the hot spring as payment. Later that night, he lies in bed, wondering whether this curse is truly capable of being broken, or if it's even the curse that is causing him to appear as an ugly skeleton. Since trying doesn't hurt, he uses a curse-dispelling spell on his arm, and to his surprise, it turns into human flesh. Ark can't believe it. At first, he thinks this might be the key to turning human again, but his hope dies after the flesh turns back into bone. However, this only confirms that his body is in this state because of the curse. As the sun rose, Ark and Arian set out to Olav, the capital city of the Rodan Kingdom. Last night, Ark was able to confirm that his appearance is definitely the result of a curse, but every time he tried lifting it, it kept returning to its original state. He looked forward to going to the hot spring Arian's dad had talked about, thinking he might get some answers there. After traveling through the woods for a while, they arrived at a river to get some water to drink, but suddenly, a group of flying wasps appeared out of nowhere. Ark, who really hates bugs, just ran away from them. After managing to lose the swarm, they headed into a local diner, where Arian suggested they discuss their plan. People normally take a carriage to go around the woods, but she thought they should go through the woods instead to take a shortcut. One of the waitresses overheard that and warned them it wasn't a good idea because the inner forest was extremely dangerous and filled with creatures called the haunted wolves. 10 people had reportedly been attacked in the last couple of days. The waitress advised them to just avoid that area if they valued their lives. However, Ark wasn't too worried because he was confident that he and Arian had enough power to take the haunted wolves down. With that in mind, their plan to head into the woods remained unchanged. The next day, in Olav, Melissa got into her carriage and set off for the Elf Kingdom to arrange a meeting with them. Meanwhile, Ark and Arian ventured into the forest. Ark noticed that something was bothering Arian, so he asked her what was wrong. Arian mentioned that her sister was soon going to get married, and the tales of the haunted wolves were known to be the perfect gift for a bride-to-be. Just then, they sensed something and assumed their attack stances. A haunted wolf emerged from the shadows and lunged toward them. Ark struck it with his sword, but it was just a decoy. Haunted wolves are known to create illusions of themselves before attacking to confuse their prey. Ark and Arian did their best to fend off the illusions. Ark noticed that Arian fought like a truly experienced warrior. While he relied mostly on raw strength and lacked actual combat experience, he looked back to spot the real haunted wolf, then teleported up to it and began attacking. He noticed a red ring around its foot, which was very similar to the one that had been on the basilisk he fought a while back. He sliced the ring off, and the wolf immediately stopped being hostile and retreated into the forest. Arian arrived shortly afterward and saw the ring on the floor disappear. She recognized it as the same type of ring that had been on the giant basilisk and wondered if it had anything to do with these monsters appearing in areas they weren't supposed to be. That aside, Arian asked Ark to chill for a while so she could gather the haunted wolves' tails as a gift for her sister. Ark sat back to watch as she collected the tails and recalled Arian's amazing performance in battle earlier. He figured he should ask Arian for some combat lessons when they had time, realizing that all his overpowered skills and abilities were wasted if he was terrible at actual combat. Meanwhile, Melissa rode in her carriage toward the Elf Kingdom to follow her father's orders and arrange a meeting with the elves. She was accompanied by her maid, Ferna, who would be there in case she needed anything. The ride went smoothly until the carriage came to an abrupt stop, surrounded by cloaked bandits. The bandits quickly took out the guards and the driver, leaving Melissa and Ferna trapped inside, overtaken by fear. Ferna knew it was her duty to risk her life to protect the princess, so she picked up a knife and burst out the door to attack, but she was immediately slashed across the chest. Melissa tried to defend herself as well, but she was stabbed right in the chest. Ferna and Melissa lay there, seemingly dead, as the bandits congratulated themselves for a job well done. Meanwhile, Ponta sensed that something was off, so he ran into the woods. Ark knew this kind of behavior was unusual for Ponta, so he followed him. Ponta ended up landing right in one of the bandits' faces. The bandit got furious and was about to kill Ponta, but Ark arrived just in time to stop it. The bandits wondered who this armored guy was. Their immediate reaction was to attack, so they began throwing their strongest magic at him, but it seemed to have no effect. Ark turned his back on them and faced Melissa and Ferna, who had obviously been killed. He knew the game allowed a special resurrection spell, meaning he could bring everyone who died back to life. Suddenly, Suddenly, the haunted wolves boss from earlier returned and commanded its posse to attack the bandits. Ark watched the wolves handle most of the work, then joined in to finish them all off. With the threat eliminated, Ark tested the resurrection spell on Melissa, and it worked. He tried the same on one of the guards, but the body was far too damaged for him to do anything. Some of the other bodies weren't as badly damaged, so he healed them. The healing light was so bright that Melissa woke up, wondering if Ark was some sort of angel. She blacked out, and the next thing she knew, Ferna was waking her up. Melissa was shocked to see that they were still alive. At first, she assumed the attack had been a dream, but the blood on her clothes proved it had been real. She concluded that God had shown them mercy by giving them a second chance. Melissa assembled the remaining soldiers and told them that this second chance was a gift from God. They weren't going to give up. They would press on and continue their journey to the Elf Kingdom. Meanwhile, Ark watched from a distance and realized that Melissa was some kind of royalty. He decided that this would be the first and last time he would ever use the resurrection skill, believing the world wasn't ready for it. Ark went back to meet Arian, who had successfully collected the tale she wanted. With that done, they headed straight for Olaf. Upon arrival, Ark found the city lively and full of energy. Then they noticed a group of jerks attacking a girl, but the girl effortlessly took them out like yesterday's trash. Ark and Arian stared at her, and she caught their attention. She looked at Ark and recognized him, saying it was nice to see him again. Ark looked back at her and realized that she was the girl from earlier, the furry-tailed ninja. The ninja walked up to Ark and commended him for freeing the elves that night. Arian had never seen this girl before, so she asked Ark who she was. Ark explained that he never got the chance to mention that he had met her on the night they went to free the elves. The ninja girl admitted it and introduced herself as Chioma, a really cool ninja from the Jinshin clan. They headed into a local diner to continue their conversation, where Chioma asked Ark how he knew she was a ninja. Ark couldn't just admit he knew what ninjas were, so he said that in his homeland there were people who looked similar to her and were known as ninjas. Chioma admitted that was kind of weird, especially since the name ninja had been kept secret for several years. She assumed Ark must be from the same land as their great founder. That statement caught Ark's attention, so he asked if the great founder was still alive. Chioma told him he died about 600 years ago. Hearing that, Ark wondered whether someone else was sucked into the game 600 years ago. That aside, Chioma cut to the chase and spoke about why she wanted to talk to Ark. She explained that her kind, the beast people, had been taken captive by humans. That didn't come as a surprise to Ark, especially after seeing how elves were treated. Chioma sought Ark's help to free the beast people. Ark was flattered that she thought to ask him, but he informed her that he was currently contracted to the elves to help complete their mission. Chioma said she was willing to offer information as payment. Chioma's situation was so sad that even Ponta felt bad for her. Ark considered the fact that she was a talented ninja at such a young age, and he really wished he could help her. He asked Arian what she thought about it. Arian, knowing what it was like to want to save your people, realized Chioma was kind of like her, so she agreed to help her. Meanwhile, Dakers was crashing out because the haunted wolves he sent to kill his sister had aborted the mission. His subordinate, Cetrian, wondered if that could be because someone broke the ring. Dakers was planning to kill Melissa because he didn't want her to set up a meeting with the elves, which could expose that he had a hand in elf trading. From all indications, Melissa was still alive and most likely onto Dakers by now, so Cetrian suggested Dakers go into hiding at a safe house. Dakers, having already made enough bad decisions, followed Cetrian's advice and headed to the safe house in his carriage. As Ark and the others progressed, Ark recalled that Chioma had told them something about the great founder. He asked to know more about him. Chioma mentioned that his name was Hanzo. Ark immediately realized that was a Japanese name, so this Hanzo guy came into this world, created his own ninja clan, and left a legacy that lived on 600 years later. Ark felt a pang of jealousy. Shortly after, they arrived at the secret slave market known as the Etsat capital. Chioma knew that it had ties to the royals, meaning that if they launched an attack, the royal guard would likely come as reinforcements. Chioma explained her plan. She wanted Ark and Arian to launch a conspicuous attack on the Etsat capital and exit immediately. At first, Ark and Arian were confused upon hearing that, so Chioma explained that they were just using the Etsat capital as a decoy. Her other comrades had successfully infiltrated the 4 major other slave markets. Once this one was under attack, all attention would shift to it, allowing them to free the others. However, Chioma knew this meant she wouldn't be able to save anyone at the Etsat capital. But if sacrificing 10 to save hundreds was necessary, she would do it. With that said, Ark and Arian agreed to help in any way they could. Ark mentioned that he could use teleportation magic, which might reduce casualties. Chiom realized they were right. They might even be able to save those in the Etsat capital after all. Chiom headed out to inform the rest of her clan of the change in plans, and before leaving, asked Ark and Arian to make any necessary preparations they needed. Ark and Arian headed to the nearest diner to have dinner, because clearly you can't wage war on an empty stomach. Ark was busy stuffing his face when Arian suggested he try a new dish. Ark scarfed it down and found it really delicious. He asked her what it was, and she told him it was the dragonfly he had been so afraid of earlier. Ark admitted he may have been wrong about it, and that they tasted really good. After dinner, Ark mentioned that they still had one more thing to take care of. He put on an ugly mask, thinking it would be the best way for them to blend in. Arian thought that was a dumb idea, noting he most likely got swindled because he ended up paying 13 gold coins for it. Shortly after, Chiom arrived with one of her clan members, Gomen. Ark heard that name and couldn't believe it. Gomen and Chiom weren't their real names. The great founder had given them those names because of how skilled they were as ninjas. Gomen walked over to Ark suddenly and stared him down. They brawled for a bit, causing Arian and Chiom some concern, but they soon realized it was just their way of bonding. With that out of the way, they finalized their plan. Ark and Gomen would create a distraction by attacking the front lines while Arian and Chiom snuck in from behind. Ark and Gomen walked straight to the front door and blasted through it. The guards were caught off guard and announced the intruders, bringing out all their reinforcements. Ark and Gomen used their magic abilities to dominate the guards entirely. Even if they might have overdone it a bit, still, it gave Arian and Chiom the perfect chance to sneak in. Meanwhile, in the Rodan Kingdom, Cetrian broke the news to Dakares about the intruders at the Etsat, and let's just say he was not happy at all, just as Ark and the others had predicted. Dakares ordered Cetrian to mobilize all their troops and send them to the Etsat capital. At the same time, Arian and Chiom were easily able to sneak past everyone. There weren't any more guards there because they had all gone to fight on the front lines, so they didn't run into trouble. They arrived at the entrance door, but it was locked. Arian was about to use her magic to bust it down, but Chiom told her not to worry as she easily picked the lock. They checked inside the cell areas for a while, but suddenly, Ponta sensed something from behind. Some of the guards spotted them, so Chiom used her water jutsu to take out 2 of them. Arian was impressed. She then used her flame magic to take out the rest. They advanced to the point where the beastmen were being held and saw them trapped in cells and chained up. Chiom introduced herself as a ninja of the Jinshin clan, and upon hearing that name, the beastmen got excited. She freed them and urged them to follow her instructions. Those who could fight should take the weapons off the fallen soldiers, while those who couldn't should stay hidden. Meanwhile, Ark and Gomen had reduced the entire building to rubble and seemed to have taken care of all the guards. Chiom and Arian arrived shortly after, telling them that the beastmen were now safe and had been gathered in the main hall. Now all that was left was to free those in the other 4 slave capitals. Gomen told Ark to go along with Chiom and Arian while he stayed to hold things down. The 3 of them headed into the next slave prison and first took care of the guards in charge there, after which they quickly freed all the beastmen being held there. When it was time for Arian to free the last cell, she noticed a foul smell. She opened the door and saw something covered with a sheet. She pulled the sheet off and saw the corpse of one of the beastmen. Some of the beastmen had already been injured or sick when they arrived, and since they couldn't be sold, the guards had just killed them and left them to rot. Chiom became a little emotional for a second, but wiped her tears and got back to business. They managed to gather everyone in the main hall, where Ark teleported them to a safe spot in the forest. After the last group made it back safely, Ark teleported back to Gomen, who had clearly taken a breath for the final round. All it took was for them to use synchronized rock fang attacks to wipe out the remaining forces. Afterward, Ark teleported back with all the soldiers' corpses to be properly disposed of. The corpses were laid out in an orderly fashion and prepared to be incinerated. Arian used her flame technique to burn them all, and you could even see their souls going to heaven. Seeing this, Chiom vowed to get stronger so that no one would ever have to go through what they witnessed today. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Rodan, Dakares was pissed off as usual after Cetrian informed him of the mess at Etsat. He told Cetrian to give him a detailed report and stormed out of the room. He turned back and saw that he had been stabbed right in the kidney. He collapsed to the ground from pain and blood loss. Sect commended Cetrian for taking his brother out. Cetrian Citrian felt really proud of himself at this point. He mentioned that Princess Melissa had been taken care of as well. During the attack they launched on her while she was in her carriage, they were able to retrieve a piece of her jewelry, and the rest of her body was nowhere to be found, which meant she was most likely dead. Sect was pleased to hear that, and to make things better, he would just announce that Melissa was killed in a scheme arranged by Dakares. Now all the obstacles were out of the way, and the throne was all his. Meanwhile, Gomen and Ark met up again and had yet another friendly brawl, while the girls just stared at them. Chiom vowed to become stronger at all costs, so she couldn't see many more lives lost, and never let anyone be in a bad position. Arian couldn't agree more and said the same went for her. The next day, Chiom was still offering her gratitude to them, but they told her not to worry because they were just trying to help. With that out of the way, Chiom said she was ready to give the details of the information she promised them. Meanwhile, Melissa arrived safely in the vicinities of Limburg and got down from her carriage. The moment she saw her sister, she ran up and gave her a hug. Her sister was glad to see she was alive and admitted she was scared when she heard she was killed by Dakares. Melissa was taken by surprise upon hearing that. They went inside to talk more privately, where her sister informed Melissa that Dakares was behind her attack in the woods and had been killed not long ago. Melissa couldn't believe it. After a few moments, she thought about it and realized it didn't add up. Dakares had allegedly arranged for her to be killed, but was then killed afterward. Now that Dakares was dead, Sect was heir to the throne, and she wondered whether Sect could have planned this all out. Because of that, she suggested keeping the news of her survival a secret until further notice. With all obstacles out of Sect's way, she was certain he wouldn't be in a rush to take the throne, which would give her time to act and speak to the elves. Meanwhile, Chiom informed Ark and Arian that the other elves were being held at the Holy Revlon Empire. With that said, they set out and began their journey. Meanwhile, in the Holy Revlon Empire, Emperor Domitianus was receiving a report from his lackey about how Dakares and Melissa were dead. He was somewhat upset that Dakares had died because it meant all the rings he gave him had been for nothing. Meanwhile, Ark and Arian are on their way to the Holy Revlon Empire, but while passing through a desert, they spot an entire family of wyverns flying in the sky. Ark gets excited because this is the first time he's ever seeing a wyvern. Arian wants to use the shielding fowl to relay a message to Danka, but the bird is too scared to go up because of the wyverns. Ark figures the only way to solve that problem would be to have them disperse. He jumps down from the cliff and casts a lightning spell, which strikes the wyverns with a strong current, but Ark can't really control it, so he ends up striking Arian and the others as well. The wyverns fly away just as planned, and when he goes up to check on his friends, they look fried. However, as Ark checks if they're okay, someone appears to be watching them and documenting their actions. After that, they head over to a diner to discuss their next moves. The shortest route to the Empire would be to pass through the nearest river and arrive at the Empire marshland. However, Ark notices that Arian has had a rather concerned look on her face ever since Chiom gave them the task to head to the Empire. He starts to get the feeling that she may be reluctant to go to the Empire. Arian admits that she may be a little nervous. Unlike Roden, the capturing of slaves isn't illegal, so she feels rather anxious going into a human town where she could easily be picked up. Just then, the guy who was watching them in the desert earlier walks up to them and asks if they are the ones responsible for that impressive magic he saw. He introduces himself as Karsi, judging by his big ears. Arian can tell he's an elf, so she rushes over to cover his head with a bowl and calls him a baka for revealing himself so openly in a human town. However, the people of the town love him and even ask him to join them for a drink. Arian never expected the humans to be so friendly to the elves. Karsi sits down to have a drink with them and informs Arian that they're currently in an area where humans can coexist peacefully with the elves. Arian still doubts it because of all the horrible things the humans have done to them, but Karsi tells her she's not the one to talk because she's literally traveling with a human. Arian says Ark is a special case because he's different from the rest of the humans. Ark asks Karsi what his main reason for coming over here was. He explains that he makes a living studying the biology of monsters, but there are a few who have been giving him some trouble, so he wants them to help with it. Arian tells him they can't afford to help because they have more pressing matters to attend to. Karsi offers them a map of the Holy Revlon Empire and even has a book on monster studies as payment. The monster studies book intrigues Ark in particular, so he begs Arian like a puppy to agree. Arian sighs as she agrees to Karsi's terms. Karsi is delighted and tells them that they should meet up with him tomorrow morning so they can get going. Arian and Ark decide to stay at an inn in the meantime, and when Ark offers to pay 5 gold coins, the receptionist admits that it's far too much for a room, but Ark insists, so she throws in a barrel full of snacks and booze for them. Shortly after, they arrive at their room and Ark pours out some of the alcohol, but Arian admits that it looks quite strong. Arian tells Ark not to treat her like a child and demands he pour her some alcohol. Ark does as she asks, and after she takes a sip, she gets half drunk and demands another cup. After she gulps down the next one, she is now fully drunk and is crawling over to Ark like a dog. Ark is surprised that 2 shots were all it took. She wakes up in her bed the next morning, only to see the room has been thrashed and Ark is on the floor. They realize they're running late to meet up with Karsi, so they check out and immediately go meet up with him. They get into the carriage and travel through the desert. Ark appears to be enjoying the ride, but it's not the same for Arian as she's having a mixture of hangover and motion sickness. To make it worse, she notices an awful smell coming from the end of the carriage, and it appears to be goblin corpses. When they ask Karsi what it's for, he explains that the creature they are trying to track down and the goblin corpses are going to be used as bait. The smellier, the better. Ark is curious about this sandworm, so he asks Karsi to tell him more about it. Karsi explains that from the info he has gathered, a sandworm is about 4 to 5 meters long and is weak to fire attacks. It usually dwells underground during the day and resurfaces early to scavenge corpses. Then, all of a sudden, Arian looks back and notices that the carriage that was following them is gone. She alerts Karsi, but that's when a giant sandworm emerges from the ground and towers over them. This is the biggest sandworm Karsi has ever seen, as this one is about 6 or 7 times larger than the ones he's seen in the past. One of Karsi's lackeys is about to get eaten, so Arian springs into action and launches a fire attack at it, but it seems to have no effect. It turns its attention toward her and is about to feast, but Ark gets there just in time to save her. He urges Arian and the others to get to safety first, and then, after he confirms their safety, he uses his raw strength to fling the sand monster to its death. Karsi and the others watch this and are impressed by Ark's abilities. With the sandworm fully defeated now, Karsi holds up his end of the deal and gives them the map of the Revlon Empire and gets ready to bid them farewell. Ark urges Arian to come along, but Arian is still bothered by something. She opens up to Karsi and asks him how elves are truly supposed to live alongside humans. She asks him his reason for living alongside them. Karsi explains that he generally just prefers living among the humans rather than elves because when he lived among the elves, it wasn't as satisfactory as it is now. He even mentions that one of the royals got married to an elf. Arian is shocked at the hearing of that and assumes he must have been forced to marry her, but Karsi tells her that's not the case. He just genuinely fell in love with her. It's a lot for Arian to take it, but she slowly accepts it. With that, Ark and Arian continue their journey to the Holy Revlon Empire. The scene then shifts to a man named Fumba, who's having the time of his life with his 2 girlfriends. His assistant confronts him about the number of disappearances that have been happening lately and asks whether he's the cause. Fumba admits it and says he had to feed the monster somehow. After that, they head deeper into the palace, where he throws one of the girls into the pit the monster is in, and it chews her up in record time. The next day, Ark and Arian arrive at the border town of the Holy Revlon Empire, but the moment they actually step inside, they realize everything in this town is extremely strict and tightly controlled, which means finding the kidnapped elves is going to be much harder than they expected. Arian suggests they split up to cover more ground quickly and then meet back at their starting point at sunset. They both spend the entire day gathering as much information as they can, talking to locals, listening to rumors, and observing the streets. By the end of the day, Ark sits on some stairs reviewing everything he has gathered. Apparently, there are loud screams that can be heard every night from the eastern side of the town. Strange monsters have been appearing randomly in different districts, and people have been going missing without explanation. The town may look disciplined and safe on the outside, but underneath it is far less secure than it appears. However, even with all this information, there is still no direct lead about the kidnapped elves they came here for. This mission is turning out to be much tougher than Ark expected. Since it is getting late, Ark stands up to go meet Arian, but at that exact moment, he hears a nearby woman scream for help. He rushes toward the sound and finds a young lady about to get attacked by a group of local thugs. Before they can lay a hand on her, Ark lands a surprise attack and easily knocks them all out. The girl runs into his arms and thanks him desperately, but that is when Arian walks in on them. She is clearly jealous but tries to hide it, although she cannot stop herself from putting on her demon face and telling the girl to leave immediately. Ark is completely lost and has no idea why she is acting this way. Arian stays irritated for the rest of their walk back, and Ark still cannot figure out what he did wrong. Meanwhile, Fumba continues gathering more human victims to feed to the monster inside his pit. It begins by swallowing one of them whole, and as he watches from above, Fumba tells the creature he will bring it even more food soon. It turns out the monster has 5 of those glowing rings that Ark has been finding lately. At the same time, Ark and Arian arrive at a fortress that is rumored to have held elves captive about 4 months ago. Arian received this information from a snitch earlier, so she believes this is the best place to start searching. Inside, the fortress is far more silent than expected, and there is no sign of elves anywhere. They move deeper inside until they see 2 guards. They use Ponta as a distraction, knock the guards out, and then open a pair of massive doors leading to a large underground area. As soon as they step inside, they run into Fumba himself, casually walking out of his lair. He asks who they are, and after he gets a good look at Arian, he says she belongs to him now. Ark scoffs at the remark and tells Arian they should teach this guy a lesson, but to his shock, Arian suddenly turns on him and attacks him instead. Ark is confused and assumes she must be under a bewitching spell, so he casts dispel magic to break the effect, but nothing happens. Inside her mind, Arian is trapped inside an illusion where she sees her sister Even, who calls her weak and tells her she can never protect anyone. Even tells her to prove her strength, and Arian starts fighting her, while in reality, she is actually attacking Ark with everything she has. Ark cannot understand why the dispel magic is not working, but then he spots something moving under her hood. Before Ark can reach it, Ponta dives in and pulls out a tiny gremlin-like creature. Ark immediately burns it with fire. The creature was an imp, a magical monster that brainwashes victims by creating illusions connected to their deepest trauma. Once the imp is dead, Arian stops attacking and collapses. Fumba introduces himself proudly as the greatest monster tamer alive. He summons a giant lion-like monster that looks starving. Ark lays Arian down gently and asks Fumba one question: what happened to the elves who were imprisoned here? Fumba casually explains that those elves are long gone, used in countless cruel experiments, and the ones who survived were eventually fed to his pet. Hearing that makes Ark furious, and he decapitates the lion monster instantly. But Fumba does not panic, because he claims that as a master monster tamer, he can control countless monsters at once. He summons a swarm of beasts and sends them all toward Ark, but Ark defeats every single one with ease. However, he ends up too far from Arian, and one monster sneaks toward her, ready to kill her, but suddenly Chiome appears and uses her water jutsu to drown it. Fumba becomes annoyed that yet another opponent has arrived. He tries summoning more monsters, but Chiome tells him it is pointless because the entire Genshin clan is here and has already eliminated all of his creatures. Fumba cannot believe that all his monsters were wiped out so easily. Chiome rushes to Ark, surprised to see him here and confused about the situation. She explains that she met with Arian earlier and agreed to join their mission today. Suddenly, the entire fortress begins to shake violently. Fumba starts laughing hysterically because his strongest monster has awakened. He flees while telling them they will settle this outside. The building begins collapsing, so Ark uses his dimension skill to teleport himself, Arian, Chiome, and Ponta out just in time. Hovering in the air, Ark looks down as a massive creature emerges from the shadows. He recognizes it instantly from the game. It is the strongest and most overpowered monster that exists, a Hydra. Chiome recognizes the Hydra to be widely known as the infamous ruler of nations, so she wonders how a human would even have enough power to control it. Ark analyzes the anatomy of the Hydra and notices that it has those same rings attached to its body, so he figures that if they want to take it out, they need to cut those rings. But Chiome doesn't know much about that, so she suggests they just retreat for now and prepare more to fight this monster. The Hydra notices them and spits out a blue fire attack at them, but Ark is able to use his dimension move to teleport them out of there just in time. Fumba isn't aware of Ark's ability, so he just assumes Ark and the others got wiped out. He feels pretty proud of himself at this point, so he thinks back to all the times where he demonstrated his power to people, and they all just looked down and undermined his power. He says he's going to use the power of the Hydra to prove them wrong, because with it, he's unstoppable. The Hydra is now feeling a little hungry, so he then heads the Hydra towards one of the towns grounds to get its feast on. Meanwhile, Ark and Chiom manage to teleport to safety, and Chiom is just starting to understand how powerful Ark is because he was able to block an attack that was capable of leveling the entire fortress. Ark says he's just a simple mercenary that was hired by Arian. Speaking of Arian, Ark realizes that she's nowhere to be found, so he calls out to her. Arian is then seen behind them and has a dark aura around her, saying that while she was attacking Ark, she wasn't unconscious, but was rather forced to relive an illusion. This means she hears everything Fumba said and multiplied her hatred for him tenfold. Chiom agrees that the Hydra would be too much of a threat for the Jinshin clan to ignore, so she offers to help. Arian suggests they go after Fumba right away, but Ark is more concerned about the Hydra that's about to wreck the cities. Chiom doubts anything can be done because the Hydra earned the name Ruiner of Nations for a reason, so she feels there's nothing to be done. However, Ark thinks otherwise. Actually, he thinks he'll be capable of stopping it. So with that said, it's settled. They agree to let Ark handle it. Meanwhile, in the Empire, the Emperor has just received an update that the Hydra is now up and active, about to wipe out an entire town. However, since their forces are still analyzing Fumba's sorcery capabilities, they still have to keep him under their wing. The Emperor is glad to hear this. At least this would give him the opportunity to think about what next to do with Fumba. Meanwhile, the Hydra steadily approaches the nearby town, and the guards of the town manage to spot it early. So they decide to evacuate the citizens to the nearby town while they deploy their forces to attack. But Ark gets there because there and hits the Hydra with a wyvern slash. Ark looks back up at it and is surprised that it didn't even leave a scratch on it. After that, he launches a shield bash attack, which makes the Hydra lose its lunch. Then he follows it up with an armor lariat attack, which knocks it down to the ground but doesn't defeat it. Fumba watches this entire scene unfold and wonders what exactly this rust bucket is made of. It's strange enough that he's still alive after breathing in the Hydra's breath. The Hydra lures Ark in by throwing its fire breath at him, which gives it the opportunity to grab Ark with one of its heads and is even willing to sacrifice one of its heads to defeat him. But Ark uses his shield to block all its attacks. To finish it off, he uses his judgment skill, which forms a magic circle in the air that slices its heads off instantly. But even an attack that's strong isn't enough to defeat it, as its heads simply start to grow back. Ark already saw that coming, so he's not surprised. To end things, Ark tries out a skill he has never used before. It's really powerful, and its scale is grand, so he's not sure he can hold it for long. He summons the giant Inferno Dragon, Ifrit, who faces the Hydra. With this, Ark is certain it'll be over in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Arian and Chiom are passing through the forest. Then Ponta senses some bad energy, so she leads them over to Fumba. Arian tells Fumba that she's going to put an end to his terror once and for all, but Fumba tells her not to get so cocky. Then he summons the mind control imps once more, but Arian already saw those coming, so she slices them up instantly. Arian tells Fumba not to be full of himself either because he's not in any way strong. He's just a weakling that tries to hide behind the power of other monsters. Hearing that makes Fumba flash back to those emperors who told him the exact same things, so it only gets him more pissed off. Fumba tries using his whip to attack Arian, but she burns it up with her fire and then uses her blue flame to burn him to a crisp. Meanwhile, Ifrit is going one-on-one with the Hydra and appears to be dominating. After he knocks the Hydra down, Ark picks it up and swings it into the air, which allows Ifrit to burn it to ash. Now that the Hydra has been taken care of, Ark goes over to meet up with his friends, and he's happy to see that they were able to handle things on their end. Just then, a whispering fowl flies in to inform Arian that Princess Melissa has met up with one of the great elf elders, Lord Fangus. Melissa is having a live meeting with Lord Fangus, where she apologizes to him for the people of the kingdom breaking 3 terms of the treaty after so long. She says the people of Roden would take responsibility to find the missing elves. Lord Fangus finds that offer very enticing, but he knows Melissa wouldn't just offer that without wanting something in return. Melissa confirms it, while informing them about how Sect and Dakars both had hands in all this evil that's going on. Sect now has the backing of the Holy Revlon army, which means it would be hard to take him down on her own, so she's asking for the backing of the elves to help her succeed. Melissa is doing this because she knows that Sect successfully succeeding the throne would only spell trouble. Lord Fangus has no problem with this agreement, so they both shake hands, sealing the deal. Meanwhile, Ark and the others walk back to the kingdom, but Arian appears to be troubled after the information that was relayed by the whispering fowl. She still can't believe that the humans would offer to help the elves like that. She figures that maybe Karsi was right after all. Maybe a day will come where humans and elves coexist after all. At the same time, Sect receives the news that Melissa is still alive and has already made negotiations with the elven people. Hearing that, Sect already knows that they must have someone on their side leaking information. Meanwhile, Melissa is still reminiscing the moment where she got saved and revived by Ark. She now believes that some guardian angel was sent to revive her, and because of that, she feels she's been given this second chance to put an end to all the evil going on in the kingdom. At the same time, in the Holy Revlon Kingdom, the Emperor is shocked to hear that the Hydra got defeated. He's not particularly upset about it, rather he's just curious about the person who was strong enough to defeat it. Meanwhile, Ark and his friends are seen walking through the forest, chatting and enjoying themselves. Ark declares that from now on, he's quitting all the flashy hero stuff and will live a quiet, peaceful life like a normal guy should. But Arian knows Ark far too well, so she immediately realizes that's absolutely not going to happen. Suddenly, Ark takes off his helmet, revealing his skeleton head. Chiom panics at the sight and quickly backs away, since this is the first time she's ever seen him without it. Arian calmly explains that Ark is under some kind of curse that makes him look that way. She suggests they head straight to Lord Crown, where she can show him a mysterious spring that might have the power to lift the curse. Ark totally forgot about the spring, so he gets really fired up after hearing that. With that said, the group sets off toward Lord Crown in search of the spring that may be able to remove Ark's curse. As they travel, Ark reflects on his life. He realizes that he started this journey wanting nothing more than to live quietly and alone. Now, surrounded by good friends, he decides that instead of running from it, he'll enjoy his days in this new world together with them. This was the end. Watch the next video on screen and subscribe to not miss more recaps.